Hey guys, week 6. We're almost there. Um, this week's readings really helped me rethink technical and dress rehearsals as the point where all aspects of the directing process finally come together. Rather than seeing Tech Week as something separate from earlier rehearsals, I really see it now as the moment when concepts like rhythm, tempo, pace, and actor communication become most visible and most important. Um, when directing middle school students, this phase can be really, really challenging because it's often the first time that students are experiencing the full pressure of performance conditions. Lights, sound, costume, scene changes are all, brand new and they compete for attention. And how these elements are managed directly impacts both the quality of the production and the student's confidence. Um, Chapter 19's focus on rhythm, tempo, and pace really stood out because these elements really often feel abstract until the technical rehearsals really bring them to light. I've had productions where scenes felt energetic and clear in early rehearsals, but once the lighting cues are added, the pacing completely shifts. Um, like one time, a blackout between scenes happened way too quickly, and it caused my students to rush off stage, and they completely toppled over one another, and we had to go in and completely rework the transition because can't have the kids falling over each other to get off stage. Um, uh, but we intentionally slowed down that moment and we allowed for that pause, and the rhythm of the production really improved because the students were able to reset and were able to take that extra breath whenever I made the blackout a little longer. um, that experience really reinforced Katrin's idea that rhythm isn't just about speed, it's about intentional variation and timing that supports storytelling. Tempo also becomes really important during dress rehearsals when costumes and props affect how the students move and speak. Um, Working with my young actors, they suddenly become, quieter or slower once they're under the stage lights. And others, rush lines because they're nervous about messing up. Um, During a dress rehearsal, a serious scene really lost its emotional impact because the students sped through the dialogue to get to the next cue. I really have to make sure my students understand that just because there's new lights and because there's new sounds doesn't mean that they can just rush through everything. They're waiting for the cues. They're not listening to themselves and listening to the actual show. So slowing tempo and encouraging them to listen and respond to one another really restores the weight of scenes and improves the overall pace of the show. These moments really help me see that, tempo adjustments can clarify emotional intent and support student performers. In chapter 20, it, really naturally connected to the discussion of shaping how I approach communication during technical and dress rehearsals. Tech weeks often when my students are most vulnerable, and this chapter really reinforced the importance of giving clear, actionable direction rather than vague or emotionally charged notes. Most of my students have never been in a production before. They don't know what to expect out of Tech Week. They've never done something like this. And giving them, really vague notes just adds to their stress. I've learned that saying something like that didn't work shuts the students down. But wait for the sound cue before crossing so the light can find you gives them a more specific task that they can do and they can do successfully. Um, that really aligns with Katrin's emphasis on trust and consistency, which I found are really essential for maintaining a productive rehearsal environment during high pressure moments. Uh, when you apply chapter 19 and 20 together, technical and dress rehearsals really become more focused and collaborative. Rhythm, tempo, and pace really help identify where the production needs adjustment, and chapter 20 guides how you involve actors in that process. Um, for example, the way I've used this is during a dress rehearsal with a complicated scene change. I really noticed the pacing of the show was really, really lagging. Uh, Instead of, getting frustrated with the kids and telling them, no, this isn't working, and just getting overwhelmed, I broke the transition into smaller steps. I walked students through the movement myself, got up, showed them slowly, and then, praise them for what was improved. Those small things really mean the most to kids, especially kids that I'm working with my age. That little bit of praise goes a long way. And it didn't only fix the pacing, but it helped the students feel capable and it helped them feel supported. Um, and my experience with my middle schoolers, tech and dress rehearsals are also, when students begin to take real ownership of the productions. I've seen students start reminding each other of entrances, helping with, quick prop fixes and staying focused even when something goes wrong. These rehearsals teach skills that directly prepare them for high school theater, including, flexibility, problem solving, and ensemble responsibility. Overall, this week's readings really reinforced that technical and dress rehearsals aren't just about polish, but about integration. Bringing together technical awareness, thoughtful communication, and intentional pacing can support both the production and the growth of young performers. Thanks, guys.